Hi everyone, welcome to CIS-332 Database in SQL. We're going to do an outline of sections 1 and 2. And so this would be our first one, so this is going to be like 1.1. Here we have information about the outline and how the outlines are evaluated. That's gone. That has been gone over. We'll move right into the content. So this is an introduction to get us started in thinking about databases. We define what difference between data and information. You should be able to distinguish that. Advantages, disadvantages of using a database. Consider data analysis. You have to analyze what you want before you can create the system. Who administrators are. Identify components of the web. Why understand the web? Because that's a very good way to access data using browsers. Illustrate how the components of web-based information interact. We get started on that. Very important in terms of we should understand what data integrity is, what confidentiality is, and what we mean by data being available. So we will work on those, and then we have this whole set of terms. Tables, entities, keys, fields, attributes, records, and tuples. These go together, and we'll talk about this. And fields and attributes go together. Alright, so that leads us into our first group of definitions. So let's take a look at this. we should know the difference between when we refer to data and information. Okay? Data stored in a database can be drawn out using queries to give us info. And we talk about that during the entire course, understanding the difference between there. What's actually stored? Let's take a look at this. We could store, actually we have bits. So let's say I have 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. Okay, so we have this group of bits. With ASCII code, that represents a capital M. So we can take the bits, combine them together, and give us a byte. 8 bits gives us a byte of information, and this byte happens to be a capital M. We can take then a group of bytes, like whatever represents an I, a K, and an E. Okay, so we can create characters with bits and bytes and group them together to create, let's say, in this case, a word. And that word then could be representing a specific thing. Like here, it represents my first name. Okay, so then we can create a field. A field or an attribute, and so forth. Smallest units of information you can access. Okay, we can access first name. Okay, now if that first name represents me, then we could create another field, last name. Okay, so we can create another field, Dirksen. And another field, and another field, another field, and pretty soon we put all those fields together and we have a record. Okay? So then we have a record, and then if we put a bunch of records together, Mike Dirksen, Casey Larson, Tracy Purchase, now we can say that we have a file of information of all faculty, made up of entities, tables, and so forth. Then if we have lots of files, we can put those together and create a database. Alright. Why create databases? I broke it down into just basically 3 main things. Actually, I suppose you could call it 4. I got 4 listed here. We want data to be accurate. We want to be able to access it from anywhere nowadays. You have to be able to manage it. If you have it all in one place, it's way easier to manage. And security really is part of management, but it's such an important issue that I listed it separate. This is a nice list of more detailed examples, and I gave the source right there. All right. This is kind of a generic list here of those that deal with databases. And there's an important thing I want to mention. These three people are considered users. So I really should lump them underneath users. The users are split up into two groups. Or there's a specific group of users called end users. Those are the people that use the database. They look at it from the outside. They don't really care what's underneath there. All they want to know is my view to get what I need out of there. Or another user has their view, get what they want out of there. And then you'll talk about two other terms, UI, user interface. How do they interface? We're going to use probably the web. And you'll see why that's important. And then UE, user experience. It's different than the UI. You know, you can have a UI and have a bad experience. Okay, so this is how well the data can be pulled out by the end users. And then we have the manager, the database administrator, maybe the chief information officer involved in design. They have programmers. And then I have a link there for some more information. All right. Now, let's go into general concepts here. Relational database. Right there, a table set. Let me see here. Relational flat data elements. You see that? Data elements, values. A table, specified number of columns. So they usually specify which columns, but any number of rows. That's good and important to remember. Primary keys, relational database. It can be, some people don't realize, could be a combination of columns. For example, could be first and last name. But it must uniquely identify the records. A foreign key can be a collection of fields, but in simpler words here, the foreign key is defined in a second table, but refers to a primary key in the first table. What database system we're going to use is MySQL. Relational Database Management System. We use Code Academy to get started on learning SQL. And then we have worksheet number 1 that takes us more practice, and then worksheet number 2, same topics, less information, so you have to use your own resources to figure out the solutions. The web, why? Access. Okay. So you should know what HTML is, you should know what a web page is, and a server. Server serves up web pages, it's run on some box somewhere, and HTML is the language we use to write the web pages. We have a definition here, a database management system, software. System software for creating and managing databases. Okay, create and manage. If you notice, as a side note, when we mentioned this, we didn't mention that it's a relational database. We're talking about databases in general. Okay, but what we work with in our class is a relational database management system. Okay, that's what we're using. And then from there, you use some specific one. Ours is MySQL, but there could be others. We talked about there must be some connection to the web, and we talked about client server. Client is a program submitting SQL requests to a database server via a network connection. Security is really important, and we'll keep emphasizing that throughout the course. So, we're done with the first half of Section 1 review.